Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another hand here. This one again was posted from our Discord group, so let's check it out here. Ace five suited, mid position. We're playing a 2-4 game. First decision here. What do you think? You want to limp or do you want to ISO this?
Yeah, definitely ISO. I mean, when the game is not
Mm,
crazy, not a ton of through is going on, we can definitely isolate the under the gun limper. When a lot of through is going on, I also don't mind folding in this position. It's not a super strong holding, so I think both options are on the table. But in most lineups, I really like isolation here,
yeah, for sure.
and
Yep, looks
this
good
is
so
what
far.
Hero did. Yeah, everyone calls. So we go 5-way to the flop. So we definitely
Mhm.
need a miracle flop because we're out of position against two opponents. And there it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, pretty nice.
So pot is 104 and the loose passive fish donks 12 bucks. Undergun makes the call and now we have a decision. Should we raise with our super strong hand? Super strong draw basically, so pair plus draw, or should we opt for a call? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just calling here almost always. I can see an argument for raising if because you have so much equity and you can probably get some of the fish off hands like 7x, 6x by the river, but you also have players behind you, and it's just a really nice hand just to keep the pot small. We still have some showdown. We're always going to be able to see the turn river this way, and then we let the other fish get in with trash as well. Hands like worse flush draws. Maybe some two pair type hands where if you hit a flush, you can win a huge pot against them. So we don't necessarily want to blast the pot right away and scare off some of their kind of medium value hands that might pay off on later streets.
Yeah, I think we have better hands to raise quite often. So when we
Mm-hmm.
have another combo draw with no showdown value, but as you mentioned, in position, it's always okay to raise those hands, especially against such a small sizing. When villain goes ahead and pots it on the flop, it's obviously a different story. And yeah, hero also opts for the call, and we go 5-way to the turn. Welcome to the live cash game. And yeah, turn is beautiful. Turn is probably one of the best cards in the deck. Of course, we would love to see a club, but I think a 5 is the second best card in the deck. And now the loose passive fish goes at and bets 22 into 164, so tiny, tiny bet. Under the gun calls.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you think calling is still fine? Or should we?
No, I think we got to raise now. We have trips with the top kicker, and at this point, we really shouldn't be too concerned about being behind because most people are going to raise a straight on the flop. So the only person I'd really be worried about would be the guy who donked out. And the fact that he used such a tiny sizing, I just wouldn't give him much credit for a hand. So I definitely want to pump this up to like 100, 120, charge the people behind and also the guy who donked and then the guy who called, right? Those guys could have hands like 6-8 suited, 7-8 suited, maybe hands like, who knows, like a weaker 5-4 suited, hands like that, right? You really want to make them pay for that. So I definitely like a big raise here.
Yeah, or they can have weaker clubs, right? So hands like King 10 of clubs, Queen
Yeah.
Jack of clubs, Jack 10 of clubs, 10 9 of clubs. And of course, all those hands are going to call our raise because they also think they can outdraw us on the river. And Hero bumps it up to 60 bucks. And this is definitely a huge, huge, huge mistake because, sure, we have a strong hand and we have the backup, but we can extract so much value. And we always have to think about villain's bet sizing on the turn. And he only bets like 15% pot or something like this. So super, super,
Mm-hmm.
super tiny. And we definitely want to try to get stacks in by the river or at least make a huge, huge bet on the river compared to the pot size. And with 60 bucks, this is just not viable. And the other problem is when we have a strong hand on the turn, we also need some protection here. So when we have like ace 5 in hearts or ace 5 in spades, right, we would never raise to 60 bucks because with 60 bucks, we give both players the correct odds to outdraw us, even when they only have the straight draw. And that's why, in general, the sizing is really, really bad. Also, calling ranges are quite inelastic. They would probably call most draws, even against the bigger race, and yeah, fold their weak straight draws and maybe weak flush draws. But the loose passive fish isn't is definitely continuing with all his draws and most top pairs. Yeah, the other two players get out of the way, and now the loose passive VIP goes ahead and clicks it back basically. He makes it 142, and we have to remember he is a VIP. What do you think his range looks like, and how should we continue here? Because this is a tough one.
Yeah, this is a really weird spot. Obviously, you can have full houses. You know, first of all, he's got pocket sixes, pocket sevens, couple combos of 5-6 suited and 7-5 suited. So, you know, that would be my first inventory, I guess you could say, of hands. Would just be okay, he's got these hands at the top of his range. And then I also think in these games, because players are so bad, could have hands like 8-9, you know, definitely some hands like straight. Because our raise is so small too, he might just think, oh, this guy has a 5.
Yes.
So I'm going to go for more value here with a straight. He could even have, it's hard for him to have a worse 5 lead note twice like that. Maybe a hand like 5-4 suited, right? Or 8-5 suited with like a draw with a 5 sometimes. But yeah, I'm pretty much just putting him on decent amount of boats and then straights as well. So I think given the price, it's a shitty spot for sure, right? Because we can definitely just be behind. We could be drawing dead pretty easily here. But I think given the price, we do have a flush draw as well. I would just peel here and hope he checks the river, or that we boat up and maybe get more value from the straights. But I'm not willing to fold right away here with top kicker with the 5.
Yeah, makes sense. I also would assume that he is sometimes just calling with 6s and 7s and 6-5 and 7-5 because he already has the full house, right? There's basically no scare card on the river, so I don't think he's always reading turn with those hands. Of course, sometimes, as you mentioned, some straights as well, and that's probably about it. So it's definitely a mistake to think, oh, he's a VIP, he's doing this with like 9s or 10s or jack or jacks. This is never ever ever happening in reality. So please still give him a strong range, because yes, he's a VIP, but he's 3-betting the turn, and when he has a middling type hand, he's always calling, right? Most VIPs are passive calling stations, so they call a lot. But if you show aggression, they slow down and they don't threat turn as a bluff, or when they have a middling type hand. This is just never happening in reality.
Yeah.
And Hero ended up making the call. I really like this idea. And River's interesting. River is a 6, so we also make a full house, and villain checks. Yeah, pot is 470. Should we bet big? Should we bet small? Or should we check on this run out?
Yeah. It's another interesting spot. I think I'd probably just check, you know. Maybe if I'm feeling super greedy, put out like a $120 bet just to hope to get called by a straight, but it's tough because I think even a pretty loose passive player is going to know on this board facing a bet, you know, with the double pair board, it's pretty tough to call even with a straight. I'm not saying they wouldn't, you know, I think they definitely would, but they also have quite a lot of boats here. So I think I'm probably just going to be happily checking down here and hoping he just has a straight or some missed flush draw or something. That would be the play. I think it's just a little bit too thin to bet here.
Yeah, I think when we want to value bet, it would be definitely beneficial to know a bit more about this opponent, because there are definitely some opponents where you know, okay, when he has a boat, he's super straightforward, he's always value betting, and when he checks, he's unsure, he has not a lot of boats, but all the straights, then of course it's fine to go ahead and value bet. But here, against an unknown, just very loose VIP, I really like checking, as you mentioned, really hard for him to call with straights on a double paired board. And of course, when he ever has a draw, we can get no value anyways. And this is what Hero also did. He goes ahead and checks back, and villain showed pocket sevens, which definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think betting river in this situation is definitely a little bit too loose. Quite often we suggest to bet as loose as you can against VIPs, but this is only when the action is standard, right? When we have a 3-bet pot, we bet flop, we bet turn, we bet river, when we always have the initiative. But when villain goes ahead and 3-bets turn, this is such a different story. And always go back to the previous street, try to give your opponent a realistic range, and when you don't find enough hands that can call you on the river that you have beat, then checking down is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, guys. Well, yeah, that's the hand for the day, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, see ya.
Peace.